My name is Rene Trevino. We are from the Kickapoo Traditional Tribal Texas, and we are at Tribal Education, Language Department, and Cultural Preservations. And so our current project is to converse with all our tribal elders and learn from all their experience throughout their lives. And the most important role of our department is to preserve our language, to teach it to our younger generations, and bring out back the history that we had, the Kickapoo. And we're gonna start from the 1600s. In the 1600s, the Kickapoo tribe were still primitive and just lived an average life before first contact. The Kickapoo were living a simple life, just hunting game, fishing, and farming various vegetables. The Kickapoo often migrated all over the northeastern seaboard around New York State area in search of good hunting grounds to continue to feed the community. They were often referred to as Kiwekapawak because they often moved around. We did not have the Kickapoo name back in the day. We were just a regular tribe that was possibly part of the Algonquin Nation, which had 5 known tribes within Mascoutens, Sac and Fox, Meskwaki, the Lenape, Delaware. Upon meeting the tribe of Mascoutac or Mascoutens, they shared similarities and found each other's tradition and cultures. The tribes united together and embraced each tribal member and shared their traditions and culture with one another. Soon, one of the tribe's vision seekers saw a vision of a simple life where life would be drastically improved, such as clothes, blankets, cookware, and metal weapons. In that same vision, the vision seeker saw a war and landing of the European settlers. They were introduced with the business of trading. They traded fur, animal skins, and taught simple agriculture. They taught the European settlers how to survive the lands which the Kickapoo often hunted. There was a spoken agreement with the Europeans to stay in certain area for their safety. The European settlers agreed as they were repairing their ships for their voyage back to Europe. They eventually left back in the late 1600s back to Europe. Life for the Kickapoo became simpler due to having clothes, metal cookingware, and new gained knowledge of trade. In the early part of the 1700s, second contact was made with the French arriving in the same area in which another spoken agreement was made in which was not honored. The French started expanding aggressively and moving into different tribal territories. The trading relationship between the Kickapoo and the French was severely strained as the French started dealing with rival tribes of the Iroquois and Sioux. The war between rival tribes of the Iroquois and Sioux and French started eventually. The Kickapoo would lose the fur trade war and went into hiding to regroup for the next 3 years. They avoided being seen and gathered their strength and resilience. On the 4th year of the Kickapoo came out of hiding, rejuvenation, and ready to fight again. Approximately for about 100 years, the Kickapoo fought countless battles with rival tribes and French, attacking the fur trade routes and destroying any potential fur business of the French. After more than 20 years of constantly battling with rival tribes of the Iroquois and Sioux and the French, a new foe had arrived. The arrival of the British forced an alliance between two enemies with one common enemy, the Kickapoo, forged an alliance with the French. After their peace treaty. With the alliance was often referred by the elders as fathered by the French. They gifted us with the silver medallion called the King Louis XV Peace Medal. The Kickapoo and the French joined forces for the oncoming battles with the few arrival of the British and common enemy had united the Kickapoo warriors and French army that would require them to coax after a long-standing war with the British. A peace treaty was created, and the Kickapoo warriors served the British, which is referred to as serving of the two fathers. The alliance caused them to go against other tribes, which brought so much death, destruction. After years of fighting other tribes with the British as well as the French, a different mentality struck. The Kickapoo wanted peace for its people and no more fighting. It was about cultural preservation. The final migration in the Southwest was about to begin for the Kickapoo. The extensive migration took nearly 40 years and ultimately came across the Mexican land now known as Nacimiento, birthplace of the Kickapoo. A few families were fortunate to have made it through the rough exodus through the Southwest after meeting and coming to an agreement of the Maximilian and European emperor running Mexico at that time. A few of the warriors that were left went to recover to bring additional Kickapoo whom were stranded in various areas due to being injured or ill. This led to bringing surviving tribal members back to Mexico. During this mission, another conflict started with the newly formed United States of American armies. After losing to the USA armies after severely depleted warriors, they were placed in a reservation in the state of Kansas. A few Kickapoo warriors should break out their people to lead them down to Mexico. On January 8th, 1865, the Battle of Dove Creek would be the final battle with the United States Army for the Kickapoo warriors. So that's the reason why we're here today, because the January 8th Battle of Dove Creek is one of the last battles the Kickapoo had in 1865 with the United States. And since in 1860, the Kickapoo was placed already in reservations at Kansas and Oklahoma, but our Texas band and our Mexican bands were the same ones, and our ancestors wanted peace and wanted to continue with their traditions, language, and religion, and that's why they found a place in Mexico. And at this time, they kept on taking families back and forth to Oklahoma, Kansas, to Mexico, passing through Texas all this time. And I don't know if you ever heard the story of Battle of Dove Creek. Anybody heard the Battle of Dove Creek, 1865? And I like the story that is put there. And we have the same common history on verbal history with ours, what's written. The only thing that is not accurate in that story is the amount of Kickapoos that were passing. I mean, today, the Kickapoo Traditional Tribe of Texas has 1,200 members. And the story says there were 2,000 Kickapoos passing at that time. And without wars and without any diseases like smallpox or Spanish flus, now, and we're still 1,200 of us, and we haven't even exceeded 2,000. So that's the only area that's not really accurate on the historical marker in Mertzon, Texas. And it's believed that there were only 300 tribal members passing through the area, and one of the American generals were trying to delete the Native Americans, and they went after the Kickapoos. But some warriors stayed so the families can go further and further. And they just distracted them with the snow, rain, and the rough terrain in that area in Mertzon. And that's how we survived that. Because of snow, Mother Nature saved the Kickapoo. The snow and the river that was rough, and the rough terrain, because they couldn't catch up to them. And so after Battle of Dove Creek, they stayed in Mexico already. We had gone the Kickapoo didn't had any protection yet from Mexico. So they just stayed over there. So around 1870, General McKenzie and the Texas Rangers invaded the Kickapoo tribe in Mexico, which led Mexican government to protect the Kickapoo in Mexico. after General McKenzie attacked and Texas Rangers. They had to come to an agreement to join the Mexican military to fight anyone who attacked Mexico and its people, which would eventually be the Mexican Revolution. The Kickapoo were also tasked to protect the surrounding towns of Melchor, Musquis, Coahuila, as other Native Americans were sent to disturb the peace and irritating the Kickapoo. So in that area, in the Mexican Revolution, that's where my last name came from. My great-grandfather was part of the Mexican Revolution, joining General Jerónimo Trevino. He was gathering around the enemies of Mexico, and that's where my great-grandfather joined, and they gave him that name as Jerónimo Trevino. So that's why I'm a Trevino today. That's my government name, because of my great-grandfather was fighting alongside with the Mexican general named Jerónimo Trevino. And so further, after the Mexican Revolution was early 1920s, early 1900s. And after that, that was actually the last battle of the Kickapoo, but that's in Mexico side. And after that, we had peace. There's a place to live, to practice our religion, to practice our culture, to practice our language after that. Then we had a drought in 1840. Where's Edward? 1840, go ahead. In 1840, we had a really bad drought and where we live at Nacimiento. And at that time, some of our Kickapoos from Kansas and Oklahoma, they joined the World War II. And some of us stayed in, I wasn't born yet, but my great-grandmother stayed over there, and they talked about how the drought was bad. And that's how they started crossing back from Mexico towards the United States. And I believe around that time, we have an archive that says there were 37 families protected from the United States. And my grandma is a holder of American Peace Medallion, which is a buffalo nickel. And that was given around 1848, maybe, somewhere around there. I'm not really sure. And we have several peace medals because we made peace with other countries when they came into the United States. And so on. They've been migrating back and forth. It's still not staying. The Kickapoo wouldn't stay at the same spot for a long time. The only place we stayed for a long time is El Nacimiento, but people still kept on moving around because they had to survive. Because now the only battle that is financially. So you had to work, you had to get food for your family because hunting wasn't allowed that much. And moving on to early 1980s, 1970s, that's around my parents were already teenagers and young adults. They kept on migrating back and forth up to Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, picking vegetables, either onions or cucumbers, sugar beets, and cherries in Utah, oranges in Florida. So the tribe was actually back and forth until 1883?
1983, yeah.
Okay, 86.
1983.
86. And I was born in 1983, and I only remembered as a dream when we lived under a bridge in Eagle Pass. I don't know if you ever heard about that. We used to live under the bridge. Anybody heard about that? You did? We live under the bridge in cardboard houses that are traditionally house-made, but we used the cardboard. Instead of bark, instead of cattails, we used cardboard. And we live under there. It was tough. And our families went back and forth, and they still went to practice their religions and traditions. And one day, our new appointed councilman got the reservation that was purchased by Bishop Cressida, Kurt Blue Dog, Nakai Breen, Kenny Rogers, okay, Willie Nelson.
Chick Kazin.
Chick Cajun, Kenny Rogers, okay, Willie Nelson. Okay,
Willie Nelson.
And Willie Nelson also purchased that land we lived in now. So thanks, Willie Nelson. He helped tribe get the reservation right now. So even at that time, we were still not comfortable living there. So everybody still migrated back to picking onions, working in the fields. And some of us stayed in 1990. Go ahead, 1990, 1991. Some of our families stayed with the tribe, and it was still. And I seen my parents struggle for us to live because we started living in one of those huts that you live in under the bridge. We lived in those for a while. And then finally in 1996, we started having, well, actually, let me go back. I think in 1986, Mr. President Ronald Reagan was the first one to recognize us as the Kickapoo Traditional Tribe of Texas in 1986. And that's how we got recognized as a separate Texas band, Kickapoo tribe. And well, finally the casino came in. That's one of the things that actually changed the tribe. And well, there was plenty of corruption when it started, the casino. There was a non-tribal member that poisoned our elders into doing corruption in the tribe. Well, that happened in around 2002. We overthrew the corrupted government. And after that, we finally started living financially good. And we all had equal opportunity of housing, equal opportunity of education, financial and education. And today we are here to try to keep our language and our traditions alive. And by doing that, we got to write it down, we got to research it, we got to get data from our elders before they're gone. What do you say? Joyce, I need help. Y'all have any questions on that? We still have plenty of time.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, are there written records anywhere?
Yes, I would like to just share books where we got this from. It's from Gibson. It's from author Gibson, and they're called Kickapoo, Lords of the Middle Border. And there's another one that's called the Mexican Kickapoo Indians. Oh, the Mexican Kickapoo, there's 3 of them. And those talk about more of the archives and any research that you want to know about the Kickapoos on those 3 books. And we are actually making a small museum in our tribe, which is located in 25 Standing Rock in Eagle Pass, Texas. Hopefully we'll be done soon, and we'll invite everybody to go check it out. Yes. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
This battle with Dove Creek, how many, you say 300 warriors against the Goblin army?
It was the most common or verbal history in whatever's written.
Was that a running battle or?
We were just actually passing by. So it was actually families that were passing by and kids.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, there was family that were passing by, kids, but there were warriors that were protecting them. And the militia and the United States Army wanted to eliminate all the Kickapoos, all the Native Americans. And so he wanted the general at that time, he wanted to attack the Kickapoos. So only a few of the warriors stayed behind so that the families can get further down. And Mother Nature took over when it started snowing and raining, and they hid it in the rough terrain. And the first one they were actually trying to attack, it was the militia. They attacked from on top, but they couldn't see the Kickapoo on the mountain. And so they couldn't see them, so they started shooting them over there, but these guys couldn't see them because they were in the rough terrain. And then the American army tried to go around, but they also couldn't get them, and they started shooting, but they actually started shooting the militia and on the other side. So they said, so actually they went back up north, the militia and then the United States of the Army went south. And so they didn't know how many the Kickapoos they killed, and we don't know how many United States Army they've killed. We don't have an accurate number on that one. Any more questions?
Just
Yes.
to follow up, so is there a linguist working with you to record the oral language of your elders?
Yes, so we're actually doing that right now. We don't have a linguist, but we speak the language. We have our language specialist, which is Edward over there. He's our language specialist. He still talked, yes, he still talked ancient language. Yes, because right now, us for our young generations start to talk like more like slang.
Well, I mean, this is typically, I'm a linguist, this is not my area of expertise, but that's typically what happens as the generations go on.
Yes.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, it's gonna be important to have somebody who understands how languages tend to change over time, to talk with the elders and to ask some questions about the formation of those things that they remember from childhood. Because languages all evolve, always. And if there's nothing written in that, then there's nothing that holds that evolution at a solid pace. So, and I think there are some linguists who are already working with some Native American languages, but I don't know. Again, not my area.
Yeah, we're actually documenting everything that we can right now. So far, we have, a lot. We teach it also in live stream, and we record what we teach, and we build in curriculum books for the Head Start and our tutorials. Yes. Yes.
You go by Trevino, but do you know what your great-grandfather's name?
Yeah.
And y'all still use those names?
Yeah, we still use it. They're actually passed on to generation to generation. So if I have a son, I will give him my grandfather's name. If he has a son, he will give him my name. That's how it works. And the Trevino comes from my great-grandfather. He was the one that rounded up Mexico's enemies, which is other tribes and Spain, other leftover enemies from the Mexican. And the general at that time, his name was Jerónimo Trevino. But my grandfather only had his Kickapoo name, which is Menonima. It stands for tortured. And then since he didn't have a name, they started calling him Jerónimo Trevino. So they allowed him to keep it. As in some families, like they would have close friends that are non-tribal, maybe Hispanic friends in the past, so they started sharing the same last name. Okay, you can use my last name, so you can have government papers. That's why we got our Spanish names. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
Are there coordinates as to where exactly it took place?
Which ones?
The battle?
Battle of Dove Creek? Yes, Miss Joyce Gray actually has an office right there. And she's trying to get the keys for us to access it for January 8th next year. So we'll probably have more tribal members coming in at that time, and with more artifacts to buy or sell or donate, whatever. Yes, so there's the markers over there, historical markers over there.
Thank you.
Yes. Joyce Gray will give you the address. It's in Merton. You can't miss it, it's a small town. I hear a raised hand somewhere. Anybody had questions over there in the back?
How old is your oldest living elder?
Huh?
How old is the oldest living elder?
Kerbe pono ama chapichi kita. Kerbe pono ana pachicho. 94 right now is our oldest. But the last I remember before that, before diabetes, before high blood pressure in our elders, I remember an old lady when I was like about 18 or 19. She was the eldest one. She passed away at 116. And that was like more than 20 years ago. Yes. And now, since there's a lot of diseases out there. Diabetes are killing us and high blood pressure. So our eldest is 94. Anybody else? I've seen a hand somewhere. Yes, sir.
Where's the actual battle site? The actual battle site? For the battle occurred?
Yeah, it's in Mertzon. Miss Joyce? Miss Joyce, no, she has her office right there. The historical marker's right out there. And she tells me, look, that's where the battle's at. You can actually see it from the tax office in Mertzon. Is it the tax office or the museum, Joyce? Okay. I know you have a lot of titles in that one town, like.
Okay, so there is a marker at the courthouse in Mertzon, and it's on the front lawn. You can't miss it. And that is a story from maybe the Confederate militia army side. And we're working on getting a marker across from it for the Kickapoo side of the story. The other marker is located on private land. It was put there in 1936. The other one, the one on the courthouse, was 1971, I believe. But the original marker is on the site of the Duck Creek battle, and it is on private land. And they're very particular about who comes or goes on that land, because we had a celebration one time where we brought bunches of people out there and they kind of did things they weren't supposed to on the land. So that hurts the rest of us now. But it's just a bluff, and when he was talking about where the Indians were, or where they were, was that near the bluff?
Yes.
And then the army and the militia started coming at them, and like he said, they went around and started firing at each other, on each other. But the Indians were firing too, right?
Yes.
And they had infield rifles. We're working on a research paper. We're going to try to get a historical marker, like I said, on the courthouse lawn, and that takes quite a bit of doing. So stay tuned. About 5 or 6 years from now, we might have it done. But it takes about 4 to 5 years to write the paper, and then it takes another 2 to 3 to see if you can get it, and then that's up to the state. So if that doesn't work, we're talking about putting a private marker there, not a historical marker from the state, and that might be the option that we go with. It's extremely hard to get an historical marker now. We tried for Barnhart, we tried for Mertzon, we didn't get them. So it's much harder than it used to be. But we will be at the museum. We have some displays inside the museum about the battle. We'll have more posters and whatnot on the day of the celebration, January 8th. And then if we can get on the land, we will. If we can't, we'll have pictures for you. We have aerial photographs of the battle now, which I haven't told you about that I got from a donor. And we have other things that I think will explain the battle, and maybe with the photography that we do have, we can put you like you're there, but not actually there. Does that make sense? We're going to try that. The landowners are just a little particular, and I don't blame them, I understand. And when the state was putting these gardens on these private lands, that really hurts us in like history for being able to go and see this stuff. We have another one on private land that's about the Butterfield stage line, and one of the stage docks in about Camp Charlotte, which was the bridge of Fort Concho. And you can't get to that one either. So regretfully, we just have 2 on private land, but wish they weren't. Wish they were more accessible. But we have 6 others that are accessible out there.
Yes. We got 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, and for January 8th, we're gonna try to bring more tribal members so y'all can see the regalia of the Kickapoo. And they're gonna bring some vendors for jewelry, Kickapoo jewelry or Native American jewelry, whatever you wanna call it. And we'll actually share more stories at that time, the detailed stories. Because right now we just went through bullet points on what years and what happened, and goes on all the way till now. And if you have any more questions, we'll be here. Have any more questions? Joyce, it's all yours. Thank you.